Hey everyone, welcome back to our next segment of Catching Up with the Crawfords, and I am very excited today with our special guest, Paul Morris. And Paul, thank you again for being with us today. We really appreciate you taking the time out of, I know, a very busy schedule to work, just to meet with us and let us pick your brain and everything. And so as we get started, I want to give you all just a brief introduction to Paul's successes. He is a successful entrepreneur with more than 700 rental units. He is a trainer, business consultant, and a New York Times best-selling author for his book, Wealth Can't Wait, which we will get into here later. He is a Keller Williams regional owner and director in the California area, covering 36 offices with over 7,000 realtors, closing over $18 billion in sales volume per year. Wow. 9 of those offices are his personal offices with over 3,000 realtors and over $8 billion in sales volume per year.
Yes.
And he also holds the #1 spot for market share in the LA area.
Correct. Together with the offices that we have in LA and that are in the region in LA. Yes, that's correct.
That is incredible. Very, very successful. And Real Trends 500 ranks Paul the 24th largest, your group, the 24th largest real estate brokerage firm by volume in the U.S. And in 2009, you were ranked as the 68th most powerful person in residential real estate in the U.S. So,
Thank you
Incredible.
very much. Some of that's objective and some of it's pretty subjective. The objective, the real numbers, they are what they are, and I appreciate you saying, sounding like it was giving me an awful lot of credit for it. But as I know you know from being in real estate, we've got a great team, and there's an army of realtors doing a great job to generate that sort of volume. Right.
Well, you have definitely just knocked it out of the park for sure. And I know that before you got into real estate, you were successful in the legal realm. You have a business degree from Oxford and a JD from Cornell Law, and used to work for the U.S. Department of Justice.
That's correct.
So what brought you from the legal area into real estate?
So, I like when you said successful legal career, because when I look back on it, and of course it was, and I found it to be very boring, to be honest. It's not something that was is the opposite of being entrepreneurial. You could own a law firm, that could be entrepreneurial, but it's not where my heart was, for sure. I'm not interested in the disputes. It's the law's either disputes or it's putting deals together, but when you put the deals together, it's the real fine points of the deal, and I prefer the bigger picture. And one of the things that's interesting is that I would not have been able to do this without Keller Williams, for sure. So, in sort of giving credit where credit's due, I would take credit in terms of adding a lot of horsepower, maybe adding brain power, maybe adding some good business decisions. Definitely, I could take credit for getting into business with the right people. That's very, very important. But without the Keller Williams model, I had no idea how to do this.
Right.
It's an interesting place to be, because sometimes I think the knowledge that we have or we think we have would stand in the way. I didn't have that problem. I'm like, okay, I don't know how to do this. This is a model. I believe in the model. I'm going to follow that model. And very much the same is for realtors. Realtors do their business so many different ways. And that's okay. If you've got the success that you want, I would say do exactly what you're doing.
Right.
Keep doing it. If you want something different, if you want more or you want different, then you got to look at the way you do things. And applying models that are tried and true, right? Gary Keller was the first person with Millionaire Real Estate Agent to say, like, hey, this is yes, it's an art, but it's really a science too. There's a certain number of contacts you make. Now, are you effective at it or not? Good question. Let's work on that. But there's still a certain amount of contacts that you make that lead to a certain number of sales, and you can just sort of back right into it with business planning. And so that's always been attractive to me, because I think of sales generally as being, an art,
Right.
not a science. But I do believe it's as much or more science than anything.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Well, I know that one of the things that we had talked about that I just mentioned was with the New York Times best-selling
Yes.
author, the book Wealth Can't Wait.
Yes.
Love to hear a little bit more about that. So what made you decide that you wanted to write that book?
Well, one of the things was that, as I had mentioned, I didn't have a great career in real estate sales, but I had been investing in real estate. Now it's probably 30 years I've been investing in real estate. So over that period of time, and in all the real estate investments I've done, I've never lost money in one deal. And there's sort of a formula that I have for that for sure. So I felt like this was a topic that I could really teach to my realtors. Now I could certainly teach a listing presentation or buyer specialist or those sorts of classes, but there's always some great realtor like you or folks on your team that could do a better job, as good or better. So where can I really add the value? And one of the things that I saw is the doing better, best practices in real estate sales is going to increase your income.
Right.
And that oddly enough, right, an increase in income does not necessarily mean an increase in wealth. Sometimes it can be the opposite, right?
Right.
We get into little problems when we have a little bit of money. Now we have a lot more money, we get into big problems. So managing your money, investing your money is something that they don't teach to realtors. Very practical skill set. And so I developed that curriculum. I was teaching it. It was something that a lot of people liked. And so it eventually became a book. And my co-author, David Osborne, who's also very deeply involved in Keller Williams, we got together. He's like, hey, I'm trying to write a book too. And we put our heads together. And it was a lot of fun, collaborative process. And certainly we had the idea that we wanted to be New York Times bestseller. But I got to tell you, it was as big a surprise for me as it was anybody.
Very pleasant surprise.
Yes, very
Yeah,
pleasant
for sure.
surprise. Really cool.
So, when writing this book and everything, I know that there were some of the things that I had personally read that really stuck out to me, and I know that other people who are out there right now who would really like to get into investment, and we're seeing it all over the United States right now. You have the 7 habits.
Yes, correct.
Can you hit on those a little bit, like what those 7 habits are?
Well, I could really hit on them if they were in front of me.
I've got them in front of me right now. How about I give you one at a time?
It's one of the things, if you don't have video, I know I'm getting interviewed on the book. I get the table of contents with me or whatever it is.
No problem.
Yeah.
Okay, number 1, live life by design.
Yes, that's a basic one, and it really it goes for everything. It goes for business. It goes for health. It goes for relationships. It goes for faith. Living a life by design. If sometimes talking about the opposite makes it clear. Okay, so if you don't live by design, then you wake up in the morning and you react to everything as the day goes by. That's common practice. That happens to me. I wake up, open my email, oh, well, hey, I got to deal with this, I got to deal with that. Before you know it, right, the rest of the day is gone. It doesn't mean I didn't work. Maybe I had an extraordinarily productive day, okay? That's not a day by design. And what happens is, and that's okay. And what happens if you take that day and you string that to another day and another day and another day, before you know it, you've lived a few years not by design.
Right.
So that's the opposite of it. And the way to implement it would be to say, okay, well, I realize that lead generation for a real estate business is one of the most important aspects. So I'm going to go ahead and time block that. And then I'm going to do that first because nothing's going to get in the way. And then the rest of this, when stuff happens, it'll interfere with other stuff, but not the most important stuff, right? So that's like back to a Gary Keller one thing concept. And then depending on the day, my day will end when I pick my daughter up from the school bus, And so now I've got from the time I wake up, right, and till the school bus, and what am I going to do with that time? Now, picking my daughter up at the school bus, by the way, is part of living life by design.
Right.
Because that is going to hardwire in. I could have a nanny pick her up. I could have a friend pick her up. She's close enough to walk. But that's going to hardwire in a life by design moment or time block for spending time with my family.
Right.
Yeah.
This makes sense. This makes total sense. Number 2, make business decisions based on fundamentals.
Yes.
Know your market.
Yes. So I believe that again, I don't know why it seems very simple to start with the opposite. Making emotional business decisions would be not fundamental, right?
Right.
So, I have a little process that I go through before I make any investment decision. Certain criteria that I have, it would take too long to really get in. It would be another podcast or for that. But I stick to the criteria. I really stick to it. Also, I would want to another fundamental would be how much money do I have to invest. So I'm not a person who blows a lot of money on consumables or whatever. But I actually tend to overinvest. So if my checking account is fat or my savings account is fat, I'll make some investment decisions based on that. Whereas again, to do that in a real purposeful way would be say, hey, here's the amount I expect to have to invest over the year. Let me allocate it that way.
Right.
That's another fundamental. So
Gotcha.
doing what you know how to do, big fundamental. Realtors overlook it, right? The thing that you know best
Right.
is real estate. And the where to invest
Right.
is your area.
Right.
Okay? So if you're a realtor and you're an expert in your area and you're going to say like, oh yeah, hey, somebody told me about Detroit. I'm like, it's not that Detroit's bad,
Right.
okay? Invest where you know. That's a fundamental.
Yeah, I had read that in the whenever we were going through the 3 rules.
My
never
3
losing.
rules.
Yeah,
Yeah,
your
my
3
3
rules
rules
of
of
never losing money in
yeah,
real
correct.
estate. And I saw that where it was talking about invest where you know, and like I have an example for that. I love what you were talking about, how you've had the opportunity to invest in some other places where someone has told you,
Sure.
hey, it's really hot, this is a
Sure,
great area
sure.
right now. Like one of the things that we have, like I had mentioned to you earlier, when I got my license for California, my real estate license, there were so many people from California moving to the Tennessee area.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we know, of course, that's where we were born and raised, and we know that area very well. And it is such a booming area, and people are investing like crazy there, especially in the northeast part of it, in the Nashville area. Someone who doesn't know that area, who I approach here, let's say I approach in California, and I'm like, because, and again, the reason I would do that is because there are so many people from here investing in that area. How would I let them know? Because like you were saying, you don't know that area, but I do, and I know that market. So how would I explain to them or get them to trust and see that this is a really good area for you to invest in?
Well, if I were advising them, I might tell them not to do it, right? Because they don't know the area. But if you really know somebody and they have a track record of success in their area, that's where I would deviate from that. And so, for example, I'm from Pittsburgh, but I don't live in Pittsburgh. Right. But I spent half of my life living in Pittsburgh. So I own real estate in only 2 places, and that's Los Angeles and Pittsburgh. Okay.
I heard that.
So yeah, I've moved away from buying in Pittsburgh, but I still hold quite a bit. If a phenomenal deal came up in Pittsburgh, I would consider that. So it's another area that I know. Nashville for you is an area that you know. And so
Right.
if you're talking to investor clients that are open to your advice for investment, I would still go with, hey, here are the 3 rules, invest where you know, and that's why you have me. And I've spent this many years, and I've done this many transactions, and I have this sort of track record
Right.
in Nashville.
I always believe in being able to, show them the proof.
Sure.
If you can sit and show them the proof and
Sure.
show them, the continuous appreciation value, how
Sure.
that is, constantly, going up and everything. So yeah, trust me
Yeah.
as your
Well,
realtor.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have no problem saying that when I'm talking about something that I know.
Right.
And I have no problem saying, you know what, I don't know, and I believe that builds credibility
That
also.
is so true.
Yeah.
If I don't know the answer, I'm not going to blow smoke up you.
Yeah.
I'm going
Yeah.
to get that answer for you. I
Yeah.
will tell you I don't know, but I will do everything I need to do to find that answer out for you.
Correct.
So and that just helps me to be a better realtor.
Absolutely.
And you're right. It builds that trust. It lets them know you're truly looking out for their best
Right.